Just spent the better part of the past 2 hours trying to rescue a baby raccoon from my neighbor's above ground pool, which the pool is broken, they're not filling it, and so it's just an empty above ground pool that's become like an animal graveyard. The other day I saw some squirrels running around in there, so I tried to put a stick so the squirrels could climb out. But then today I was in the pool trying to help the raccoons, and I noticed that it's like an animal graveyard. There's skeletons, and there was like a putrefied body. I don't even know what kind of animal it was, probably another raccoon. And I put a little thing down, like a board. The mother was able to climb out of this board, but it was too slippery for the baby to climb out. Fuck. So then I put like a blanket over it, thinking it could grip it with its claws. And I put this other platform that's got carpet stapled to it from the back of my truck. So I was thinking that would be a better grip. But man, I think I like scared the mother. The mother is hiding. Maybe the mother ran away. Hopefully she's still there. We got to, I couldn't, I tried to pick up the little baby raccoon, but he didn't want to be picked up. He's so stressed. He's like burying his face in the sand, just like this, just like burying his face in the sand. And, I didn't want to stress him out. So, I called the Center for Wildlife. They said they're open 7 days a week, but they didn't answer. But it says on the voicemail, if you have an orphaned animal, keep them in a warm box. Don't give them any food or water. So I built like a little box. I put a little plastic box out there with a bunch of towels, and I kind of covered it with a tarp. So it's like a little cave. And I'm thinking, hopefully he's going to at least go in the cave to warm up, and maybe his mother's going to come back and they're going to find the grippy platform with the carpet, and it's all going to have a happy ending. Even though it didn't end happily for all the other fucking putrefied corpses in the above ground pool. So anyway, if you have an empty above ground pool, rip it out quick, because it's catching animals. And that's not the goal of an above ground pool, to catch wild animals. But you know what? The fact that, and I don't want to shit on my neighbors, but the fact that I was in the pool noticing that there's like 11 dead bodies in the pool of squirrels and chipmunks and raccoons and other animals that got caught in this pool, it got me thinking about this concept of supremacy. We talk a lot in society today about white supremacy, and then we talk about other forms of supremacy, and people talk about the word meritocracy. Oh, we should be judging people based on their merit, and we should be intersectionality. We should be meeting people where they're at, and we should be acknowledging everybody's unique needs and all of that. And so we should be working towards equity, right? We want equity for everybody. We want equity of opportunity and equity of outcome. We want everybody to have a good life. We talk about human rights. But initially I got into rewilding because as a response to what I saw as human supremacy, and like, humans are great, humans are smart, and humans arguably are keystone species even outside the realm of industrial civilization. Humans have a positive or a significant, they can have a positive benefit on the environment, they can have a negative effect on the environment, but regardless, humans' effect on the environment has always been significant. So even outside of industrialism, ancient humans could be considered a keystone species. What the humans do to the environment affects the environment. We used to be picking, planting, pruning, burning, making way for wild animals, not having these big fucking above ground pools. We used to, indigenous people all around the world for millions of years used to have a positive impact on the world. So we think about ancient humans, we think about uncivilized humans as like hands off, like frolicking through the woods, like not affecting anything, not doing anything, just like naked and young and wild and free. But actually humans were making a lot of decisions that had, like, for example, when the European colonists came to conquer the Native Americans, they marveled at the plethora of edible plants and fish. The rivers were full of fish, and the hills were full of these beautiful poppies and wildflowers. Oh, they're so beautiful, these hills full of wildflowers. Little did the colonists know that the hillside full of beautiful wildflowers, all those wildflowers have an edible bulb or corm, and the Native Americans had been, or the First Nations, you're not supposed to say Native Americans, but the Native people were gardening this fucking hillside. And so that's why it was full of all these beautiful wildflowers, because the Native people were gardening the hillside and making food for pollinators and voles and moles and mice and all raccoons, So it wasn't just like by chance, right? It was because of thousands of years of essentially tending the wild that humans were able to make this hillside full of wildflowers. And what do we do now, guys? I don't even have to tell you. I don't even have to tell you what we do now. I was riding in the car with my dad. This was a couple of years ago, but I've been talking to my dad about industrial civilization, and civilization is inherently exploitative, and civilization is inherently unsustainable. And he's like, you're lazy, you just don't want to get a job, you're anti-capitalist. No, it's not even that I'm anti-capitalist, because I don't think that communism is the answer. Because if we have industrial Marxism where we all share the means of production, that doesn't solve the problem of human supremacy. So I was talking with my dad about all this, and he finally said to me, we were driving together on the highway, and we drove by roadkill, some dead animal. Maybe it was a fucking raccoon. And its stomach was all bloated, and it was just baking, on the side of the highway. Animals die on the side of the highway, and they just get eaten by vultures, or they, it's not like... And I said to my dad, imagine if that was a human being. Imagine if that was a human being, and imagine what society would be like if we were just cruising on the highway and there's just a dead man. And nobody gave him a funeral, nobody's going to bury him, and maybe he's got a family or maybe he doesn't, and his stomach is just, And my dad said, yeah, it's crazy. We would never let, or hopefully, if society has any heart, I mean, I'm thinking of examples all over the world where that type of shit happens, war zones, which is not the way that it's supposed to be. Like we're supposed to have a society that's not just perpetual fucking war with dead bodies by the side of the road. But imagine if, it's New York City, but there's just like a dead body. I mean, I was in Key West this was it was over the winter, I guess last winter. And we went to Key West, and there's wild chickens all over Key West. There's feral chickens all over the South, I guess, and all over parts of Florida. I didn't know that because I live up here in Maine. But I saw this chicken. It was just like little chickens, so cute, this little family of chickens foraging in the curb. And I saw a chicken get hit by a car. Boom! And he's dead. And nobody fucking batted an eye. I kind of thought that one of the restaurant owners would come out and scoop them up, and obviously if there was a rewilder, like if I was at home, I probably would have said, hey, free chicken, and I would have honored the chicken's life by butchering it and eating it. And at least doing something other than just what people did, which is just like treated it as if it had the significance of a falling leaf. Like, didn't even look at it, didn't even kick it to the side, just stepped over, just didn't even sipping the coffee. And I want you guys to think about this concept of human supremacy. I want you guys to think about how bad you think white supremacy is, how bad you think rich people's supremacy, or capitalists, or the bourgeoisie, or the proletariat, or whatever the fuck, and then think about the fact that industrial civilization is inherently exploitative of the humans who participate in it and of every inch of the natural world. Industrial civilization is inherently exploitative of the natural world. It is inherently exploitative of humanity. It is inherently destructive. Industrial civilization is destructive. And I'm not trying to be like a leftist, like let China eat our lunch, like we should deindustrialize and let China eat our lunch. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's just something to think about. My heart is fucking breaking for this little baby raccoon, and it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just a raccoon. It's just a raccoon. And there's a putrefied body of another raccoon right next to him. Just something to think about, guys.